Without doubts, I think it's by far the best league in the world.
How dare you score like that in the Premier League? Mission accomplished in the Premier League.
Next up, we got West Ham, and that was a surprise team last year. David Moyes really got him playing. We have the president of the Bowen fan club and the co-presidents, both of you guys over here. I don't know. You guys can fight amongst yourselves. Who's the president? Who's the co-president?
I always liked him. I always liked him.
Whoa. There is no fighting over anything. There was one person who loved, one man who hated, and one man who acquiesced to being effing wrong by about December. Then by about May was like, I wasn't just wrong. I was really fucking wrong.
So
and that guy
let's start with
has
you,
got
Gally.
the Burger King cream.
While we look at who they've added in the off season, and they did spend some money actually, like bringing some people on. What do you think in terms of like the incomings and how it will change? Will it improve West Ham?
I absolutely love it. I think West Ham had one of the best windows of any team. The players, it's all a question of whether or not they sit and they fit, right? But David Moyes plays with a small squad. Arguably making it to the semifinals of the Europa League was the biggest detriment in them trying to challenge to qualify for the Champions League, because he literally rolled out the same 11 players on Sunday, Thursday for the entire season. And by the end of the year, it looked it. And they were leggy and they were tired. Scamacca is a really, really, really good Italian talent. Sassuolo played an attack-minded game. I actually think he will be their central number 9 striker. I think he will take Antonio's job, and it won't take long. He's come in late, but I think he will have that job. He's more of a clinical goal scorer than Antonio is, clearly, as a guy who came up as a fullback and then worked his way as a winger and then, as a midfielder. Aguerd might be the most important signing they made because they needed a center back. They needed people to play. I mean, when you're trotting out Craig Dawson and Kurt Zuma every week and you have no other depth and you want to play 3 at the back at times, depending on your competition, he's a really, really talented player, and there were a lot of big clubs in for him. And then lastly, the championship player Downs they bought is basically the guy they are the most bullish and excited about. He's a young English talent. He's an attack-minded midfielder, and I really think they found a diamond in a rough. And I think he's going to play a big role kind of in that Lanzini impact substitute. And it'll just be interesting to see from a leadership standpoint how much they miss Mark Noble, because he didn't play a lot, but from all accounts, he still ran everything at the club from top down, from training sessions to the dressing room to helping, Declan Rice be a better leader by being there as a grown-ass man. And I think that's what you need when you're a club just under the talent level and punching above your weight. But I like West Ham. I like what they do. I like how they play. And if you haven't heard this before, I like me some Jared Bowen.
Yes, you guys do. I mean, not that I hate Jared Bowen, but goddamn, you guys are huge fans. Okay, so Bickler, let's come to you. I mean, they have a solid team. They already did. And, it's one of the teams that I actually really enjoyed watching last year. And they've added some pieces. And really, they did not lose anything significant at all, like as we look at like the outgoings now. I guess the key is the people who brought in, are you as bullish on them as Gally is, or are they just basically going to be depth more than anything else?
No, I mean, I like him. I think they fit a mold, right? And I'm probably going to say something that West Ham supporters will hate, and just bear with me. But I think when I see this side, I think this is like, yeah, get excited, Timucin. Like, I think this is the blueprint for this West Ham team is what I always thought Burnley should be. They're big, they're physical, they're blue collar, but they play football, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that last part is the part that Burnley never got, the football part. And I think to me, Souček's the heart of that, right? That's exactly what you want. This big, tough, just blue collar dude that will grab it by the scruff of the neck and drag it through the mud. And I think these signings fit that. Unfortunately, the Moroccan center back is already injured and he's going to have ankle surgery. So who knows how long that's going to happen. And that just seems like variations on a theme for them from center back, considering the fact that last year they were pulling a vintage January Liverpool and playing midfielders at center back. And so, I mean, they'll definitely want that to like improve and improve quickly. Samaka, dude's 6'5", man. Like the kid is huge. Like, so like if he's got any sort of footballing nuance to him, he's going to be a handful. It'll be real interesting to see what he brings. All reports from them are that he hasn't been playing preseason, but he has been training. And apparently he's just been knocking the net off the frame. So like, it's going to be real interesting to see what happens with him. Yeah, I like the window in terms of just solidifying. I still think they need a little bit more depth in the back. I think they need more center back depth. I think that still needs to be addressed. But yeah, I'm bullish on West Ham. I like the way they play. And Jan Bone, he's pretty ace.
Do you think the kid replaces Antonio as well?
I think eventually. I think it'll probably happen pretty quickly too, just because Antonio is not durable.
So, well, I think that kind of like lets them use a different, because I mean, the dude is a beast and relies a lot on like the physical play. So I think, making the signing kind of helps them in that sense where you have two of those guys. So you can kind of alternate them and not rely on, beat Antonio to death, because it has to be tricky. I mean, you as a center back, you probably, he would just put me in his pocket. But, as a center back, you probably do not enjoy playing against a guy like Antonio, because that's the kind of guy that's going to, require ice bath for you after the game. It's just the way he plays. And he's not like just a big dude. He's a big dude who plays hard. And I think that's kind of like, very tough to play against. I know, like, whenever, we play against him at Liverpool, it's always like a concern of mine. He might not be the best finisher and sometimes doesn't have the best decision making, but in terms of like the physical battle and the toll he's going to put on center backs is always concerning. So let me ask you this then, Galdi, because you talked about, the run they made last year in the Europa, and they're going to be in there again. Do you think they've added enough depth where that is not going to hurt them this year? Because I would think, the way they play kind of suits that, especially once they get to the, like home and away things. The way they play suits them to keep advancing.
So they're in the Europa Conference, not the Europa League, because they finished 7th last year. They fell one spot out of the Europa League. So they'll be playing in the Europa Conference, if I'm not mistaken, as the English representative. I do believe that it is ingrained in David Moyes' nature to play the best players he has, because he's never been used to having a squad big enough, and he wants to win every match. Because as much as I dislike him as the ex-Everton guy and the United guy, you have to kind of respect the fact that he was the manager of this club, kept him out of relegation, and they fired him the next year to hire a former Champions League winner that they then had to fire to hire like 3 more guys to realize the mistake was ever letting David Moyes go. And then he's moved him 11 spots up the table out of saved him from relegation and brought him to a European semifinal where they it's downright impressive what David Moyes has done. And 3 years ago, they had supporters running on the pitch during matches to try to get ownership to sell the team at the London Stadium. And in turn, they turned that awful bowl of an arena into like a home fortress that actually their supporters have given them a great lift. So I think what West Ham's doing is really special. And I think it's what makes this league special is if you get the right manager with the right group of guys, and then you have a couple diamonds in the rough, like a Jared Bowen. Like we all said, he could be talented. He came out of Hull City. But you have to talk about it, Timucin. His statistics last year put him at the level of the best right wing in the world. Like he's the first, in my opinion, he's the first name on Derek Southgate's team sheet for the England team. Right now is Jared Bowen on true form over like 18 months. Scores goals, creates assists, works hard, presses. He does everything you need. And on top of it, he gets paid less than like 11 of his teammates because he signed a shitty contract out of Hull City as a transfer from a relegated side. So I genuinely think like they have something special being built there. And it seems like a working class club with a working class manager for working class supporters. And I think if I were a West Ham supporter right now, I'd be pretty bullish about where we're at as a club and where we're going.
So they are going to be in the Europa Conference. Does that help them, Bickler, in some ways? Because I know what Gally is saying, but like in terms of like starting the best 11 and stuff, but I mean, seeing some of the opposition that they will face there, because Europa, you still get a lot of quality teams, but not as much in conference. Will that let him basically maybe rotate more, give youth more tries and like playing time, and kind of save some legs? Because that's where they ran out last year.
I mean, I think they're going to have to. I don't think they're going to have a choice. I think they're going to have to. So yeah, I mean, and then maybe this is a team that very much benefits from 5 subs. We talk about how we don't think that's going to have a huge impact. It might for a club like West Ham. So yeah, I think they're going to have to rotate. I'm bullish on them too. I mean, I think they're a team that has the capability. We talked about the things that can go wrong for Arsenal. We talked about the things that can go wrong for Manchester United. I don't think that they're going to catch Chelsea, even if there's an implosion. But if there's an implosion and things go really far south for Manchester United or for Arsenal, West Ham, I think, could catch those teams. I think they could be there.
So you throw out. So you're saying like sixth? There's 6th or 7th is where you're seeing them.
Yeah, I think they could go as high as 5th. Like, I think if the scenario's right, and I think that if United struggles, and I think that Arsenal struggles at the same time, I think if both those clubs struggle, I think West Ham could go as high as 5th. I think they'll probably finish in that 6th, 7th spot.
I think one thing is probably going to be the fact that those players are going to have that experience of being, juggling European games, midweek games along the Premier League games, whereas most of that squad probably was not used to that before. So I think they will have that experience. I'm actually pretty bullish on them too. I don't know about 5th, but I do feel like they will be 6th this year. And I don't see them like coming into the top 4, because we were talking about earlier in our show, talking about like Tottenham and stuff like that. And I just don't see them going up that high, but I do see them moving up one more spots, taking advantage of, I'm guessing, like a United disaster personally, but being 6th. How do you have them finishing, Gally?
So if I were making a bet on long odds, I would of a team to crash the top 4, they would absolutely be the side that I would place my money on. To Paul's point, it takes a perfect storm. It takes Arsenal having probably some injuries. It probably takes Tuchel stepping down or leaving Chelsea and them just kind of having a month of rebuilding. And it takes, nothing working right for United, which, well, won't hurt anyone on this podcast to hear that, or on this show to hear that said, right? I don't think that will happen. I think they will probably finish 6th or 7th. I mean, picking them ahead of United or Arsenal to start a season and when both are having good preseasons is kind of hard for me to do on paper, just with the talent that they have. But I think, again, that they have the consistency of a manager that plays a style that suits his talent. And I don't know that either of those other 3 managers right now, with Tuchel, Arteta, or Ten Hag, can actually play their style with the talent they have to its highest level. And I think West Ham can. So I think if all things right, they could finish 5th, maybe 4th, maybe 6th. Either way, West Ham went into most seasons thinking they might be relegated for the last decade or playing the championship next year. The idea that they're at the point they are is really a testament to the ownership for believing in David Moyes and David Moyes for believing in his players.